beyond. The song remains the same. Rated PG.
And now, with the old year almost at its end, all of us in the newsroom wish you a very happy new year.
Hello. Well, the certainty is that it's going to be a cold new year. These northerlies are going to keep it cold down the eastern side of the country. A ridge of high pressure here giving frost and fog in many places, and the low coming by southwestern parts to give some rain, perhaps some snow.
9:05, the Odessa File, starring John Voight as a reporter entangled with the wartime secrets of a sinister organization.
Edward the Russian is dead.
I'm sorry, you'll have to try harder.
Hello, and a happy New Year's Eve to you all. By the time this program ends, it will be midnight, the end of the year, and the end of the 1970s. So it seems the right moment to look back over the past 10 years.
Then, as it was, then again it will be. Though the course may change sometimes, rivers always reach the sea. Let's hear it!
There are conflicting reports out of Afghanistan, some saying that Soviet forces now are in complete control of all major towns and highways.
President Carter demanded last Friday evening that the Russians pull out of Afghanistan. There were an estimated 50 to 60,000 Soviet troops already there. From their deployment, it's clear to U.S. intelligence experts that the Russians intend to secure the major...
...be their biggest release yet. More and more AM radio is realizing the popularity of this band, and it's reflected in their new single, Spirit of Radio.
Do you think about marijuana? It was a big mistake. Or will you try to come back to Japan? Yes, I'll try. Okay.
Rock group AC/DC was found dead last night in a parked car in South London. Scotland Yard said the body of 30-year-old Bon Scott.
And the thanks of an America which was thrilled by your performance at the Winter Olympics. God bless every one of you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Mr. Carter used the occasion to repeat his determination to keep the United States away from the Summer Olympics in Moscow.
I am paying for this microphone.
I was challenged by Governor Reagan.
Scientists at the Center for Disease Control have isolated both A and B virus influenza this year, but doctors here say that if you've got the flu, it is probably B virus. 35 states have reported outbreaks of B virus flu, with the hardest hit areas being the 6 New England states, plus New Jersey and New York City.
Thank you. Hey.
Well, thank you, Molly. First up, there's a big surprise in the top 10. We'll get into that one in a minute. Number 10, tonight's host, Judy Zook, will stay with the middle of dawn. Already made the top 10 with He's My Number One. With their ballad, Please Don't Go. And Pink Floyd are also in the top 10 for the first week with another brick in the wall. It's moving out with Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. stay around for long. Escape is also moving out. Hitting the charts this week at number 4 with Blame It on the Boogie. Up with Hey, Do That To Me One More Time. Colleen Ewart is at number 2.
March 4th. John Bonham traveled to Tyne T Studios in Newcastle to tape an interview with Bill Connolly. In regards to the interview, Connolly explained, John was in great shape, but had a couple of brandies and decided he didn't want to do the interview. He didn't want to mess everything up, so I said, look, why don't I just ask you really lengthy questions and you can just shrug as if you don't know the answer or just say yes. That way, we still get to do the interview, but you don't actually have to do it. So we did it, and it was funny. After the interview, we went for dinner at this place in Newcastle. When we got there, John was a bit fired up and started shouting and breaking things. He later said, I've had enough, I'm going to lie down. He found a lounge sofa, and next thing we heard was him snoring.
Isn't it strange how it always gets hot when legs and core are on, huh? I don't understand it, I feel quite faint. Right, a bit of news for you now, pop news, because we usually... Right now, though, let's get back to the charts here on Top of the Pops, starting at number 30. At 30, Sunshine of Your Smile from Mike Berry. Coffee with a new one is Casanova at 29. At 28, Gotta Pull Myself Together from the Nolans, and Splodgeness Abounds are still at number 27.
Got me a Pittsburgh walking stick tonight.
Makes those high notes. Right now, for the very first time on Top of the Pops, it's Genesis. Well, that is what I call totally in order. That's
I've been a big Genesis fan ever since the release of their 1980 album, Duke. Before that, I really didn't understand any of their work. It was too artsy, too intellectual. It was on Duke where Phil Collins' presence became more apparent.
And it's funny, I got to work with Phil Collins a few years ago, right at the beginning of us working together, and I told him a funny story because Phil loved my dad, and he said he saw him before he was in Zeppelin, and he said, I said, well, when you'd released Duke and the Turn It On Again came out, and you just beat my dad in the Melody Maker Drum Awards poll. So he got me to learn Turn It On Again by Genesis as a 12-year-old kid.
Right.
So I'm 12 and he's on the drum kit and he put it on the jukebox and ding, 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 ding. So I'm playing along with it. So I do it about 3 times. He goes, do it again, do it again. About the 3rd time he went, got it. He goes, I don't know what the big fuss is about. My 12-year-old boy can play that song.
The announcement of a decision on sending a U.S. team to Moscow.
The United States Olympic Committee has decided not to send a team to the 1980 Summer Games in Moscow.
Bowing to the pressure, the Olympic Committee reluctantly agreed to back President Carter.
The Carter administration hopes that there will be a snowballing effect now that the U.S. Olympic Committee has decided not to go to Moscow.
With the arrival of the new decade came fresh decisions, a sense of rejuvenation and wanting to do things right. Peter Grant got a new tour manager and assistants. Gone were the bad vibes and sketchy characters from the past. The band started rehearsals in May at both Rainbow and Victoria Theatre in London. Jimmy was dangerously thin and Bonzo was still carrying excess weight from past years. Both Jones and Plant look healthy and ready for the 80s. Influenced by new bands and styles at the time, Zeppelin agreed to strip down their setlist, outwent long marathons of No Quarter, Moby Dick, and Dazed and Confused.
Hello? Who's that? Oh, hi. What are you doing out in this mess?
Friday, the 13th.
I enjoy challenges, and it's a challenge tonight to see what I can do.
42 points, 15 rebounds, and 7 assists. He starts at center.
As a vast volcanic cloud swept hundreds of miles east from Washington State's Mount St. Helens today,
what is believed to be the final exodus of boats from Mariel. There are reports that the Cuban government has ordered an end to the refugee sea lift. All boats were to have left Mariel by today.
Are sharply criticizing President Carter's handling of the Cuban refugee problem. The governor of Texas, Bill Clements, says the president has literally opened the floodgates, placing no limitations on the number of Cubans entering the United States. Today, the Cuban sea lift slowed a bit, but since last month,
others formed a convoy of their own for protection. The U.S. Coast Guard reports at least 40 more boats.
23 boats filled with over 800 Cubans reached Key West, Florida. U.S. Marines are now on duty at Key West, and getting out of Cuba is still a problem for many. Many of those who have arrived in the States tell horror stories of being beaten by pro-Castro Cubans.
A good time, but we hope that we can do it next time better.
You're really a perfectionist, aren't you?
Like when it gets right.
Fears of more violence by England's football fans in Italy have led the mayor of Turin to call in 1,000 police and anti-terrorist unit for tomorrow's vital match with the host country.
The England squad trained this morning, facing the very real threat that if their supporters cause trouble in Turin during the next 36 hours, their game against Italy would be called off. That's the threat from the mayor of Turin, and the town owns the ground. It was English supporters who began the riot at Turin on Thursday, but now they say that they feel threatened and are worried about reprisals from the Italian fans. Already, there's been hostility in the town. In the early hours of today, Italians set fire to a coach used to transport English supporters to the ground, and the owner has withdrawn the rest of his fleet for the use of the English, many of whom have decided to watch the game on television or have gone.
Well, lots of luck to West Germany in the European Cup, as England are no longer going to be doing anything. Good night, dinosaurs rule! Thank you very much, and a very warm good evening to you. Pleased to hear that England beat Spain 2-1 tonight. But it's too late in the day. The last thing that happened of any great importance was the last album that came out, In Through the Outdoor. John Bonham on drums, John Bonham. There's quite a lot to be said for dinosaurs.
You guys showed up. You guys have been around for about 20 years, 18 years. Keep it up with the audience. Nick says it's really out with you.
You'd better get bright, pal. We got a show to do. Then we got to figure out some way to collect that gate money. Get it to the Cook County Assessor's office as soon as they open in the morning.
Joliet, Jake, and Elwood Blues.
Are you the police?
No, ma'am. We're musicians.
What happened last night, then? In the European Championship? All right. All right. I'm all right, thank you. Just a minute. John Bonham would like to say something, please. John Bonham would like to say something, please.
Hot dog.
Música dentro de ti, Walkman, la exclusiva creación de Sony. Sony, el sonido.
Being released in America for a start.
Yeah.
A lot of...
Me before, and I don't think I've ever had a hit record in England.
Their Over Europe 1980 tour was announced to a low-key response from the press. 14 dates across Europe were a back-to-basics approach, playing smaller venues on a range of 4,000 to a maximum 10,000 seat capacity. The tour was booked for May, but was then moved to mid-June, early July. Their comeback coincided with the very packed touring schedule on the German circuit. Roxy Music, Santana, Bob Marley, Styx, Devo, and Frank Zappa. This may explain why ticket sales for Zeppelin's European tour were uneven. No venue was sold out. It was a different kind of Zeppelin. Robert and John Paul Jones would go off and have dinner. Plant insisted he wouldn't go back to America. John Paul tried to persuade him. Gone were the days of shattering hotel walls. The band seemed focused on the music before anything else. A small warning came at Nuremberg on June 27th when John Bonham collapsed after the third song. They took him to the hospital immediately. Doctor ruled indigestion from overeating.
There's two of us tonight that aren't feeling at all well. And the next number sort of reflects how I'm feeling, and possibly the other member. It's called Black Dog.
Well, it's nice to be back in sunny Nuremberg. I haven't been here for 7 years, I think. And in between that time, we've managed to make a few albums. This is a track from the last one, In Through the Outdoor. It's called In the Evening. If you could just hold it a minute. No need to go crazy pushing around. Hang on a tick. We just have a minute problem, so if you can wait patiently, we'd be very grateful. Hang on. Yes. We want to teach you one thing. Take your right hand, put it in the air. Right hand. Right hand, you fool. Cut like that. Cut the hand like that. Take it to your nose and go. And then, I thank you. After 3, 1, 2, 3. I thank you. Good evening. bootlegging that, you'll have to scratch that number because it wasn't completely correct. Never mind, we got through it. You see, when you go on a rock and roll tour, you have people come with you who expressly their job is to make you happy, make you smile, make you do little things that are always impossible to do. And we have a friend with us tonight who used to play with Dusty Springfield, and then he got senile. And shortly after that, he became our friend, so we all fit along nicely. This is Mr. Philip Carson from London. Mr. Philip Carson from London. This man has one fixation. It's called money!
On congas and percussion. Bongos and congas, Armando Peraza. And timbales, Orestes Vilato. Jimmy Page.
Man himself.
Jimmy Page looked great.
The most incredible adventure the screen has ever created.
He's coming right at us!
The big news is Airplane.
Thank you very much. It's extremely nice of you. Before the club's shut, we'd like to do one more. We'd also like to say that what you read in the papers today in the Built magazine is not true. The Doctor isn't in fact behind the stage, he's playing the drums. We're going to bring on a drummer, a very good friend of ours, a guy from a group called Bad Company. Does anybody remember Bad Company? Simon Kirk on drums, Simon Kirk. Another man from Mother England, Simon Kirk.
The band played their last show at Berlin on July 7th, 1980. Fun fact, Jimmy's Yardbirds' last show was on July 7th, 1968.
nice to see you. It's nice to be seen, I can tell you that. We've got a number from the annals of rock history. It's not called Black Dog Jimmy, it's just called Classroom.
This is a track from, we managed to get an album together about 18 months, 2 years ago, called In Through the Outdoor. This is a track from it, it's called In the Evening. This is one from the very, very formative part in it all. No, that was another formative part. This is called the Rain Song. Is the springtime of my loving? We've done 16 towns in 21 days, and that's Dino movement, that is. This is the last concert, so we intend to have a better time now, perhaps, than we have done before. This next song's we must dedicate to the people from Shoko Sound, and it's a song for Texas, Hot Dog. Something for all the road crew, everybody who's been working with us. Without you, we'd have had to have somebody else. I thank y'all.
This song is sort of done in a drone tuning, you see. Not the usual standard tuning for guitar. And we're sort of readjusting the program tonight a bit, as it's like the last one of the tour. And the poor chaps behind, the backroom boys, weren't quite so prepared for the tuning. So if you just give us like a couple of seconds, it'll be in, okay?
John Bonham on drums. To heaven. You've been great. We've had a wonderful tour. We're just about toured out. But it's been fantastic. Thank you. I think we can squeeze one more. Squeeze it. Squeeze it. Oh, squeeze it. Thank you. Thank you very much, Berlin. Thank you very much, everybody who's worked with us and put up with us and all them sort of things. And
The Queen Mother drives to St. Paul's Cathedral for the Thanksgiving service in honor of her 80th birthday. As you've probably seen, the royal family have been taking part in the official celebrations to mark the Queen Mother's birthday, which is on August the 4th.
It's no secret that Prince Charles is the Queen Mother's favourite grandchild.
Public employees unions and their leaders weren't sparing in their criticisms of those councillors supporting the cuts.
With a deep awareness of the responsibility conferred by your trust, I accept your nomination for the presidency of the United States.
Och nu förstår alla att du har kommit in på avdelningen olympiska sommarspel. Fackelbäraren på den mänskliga trappan var ett av många minnesvärda inslag. Och på den här läktaren med 5000 fenomenalt samövade så Mischa, den snälla björnen, var den olympiska symbolen. Och den förekom överallt, till och med livslevande.
The sight, I just walk on and it's on, huh? Switched on.
With gratitude and with determination, I accept your nomination. And I am proud to run on the progressive and sound platform that you have hammered out at this convention.
August 1980. Page moved into his new house in Windsor. September 11th. Swan Song announced the North American tour, the 1980s, Part 1. 19 dates covering Canada and the East Coast of the United States from October 17th to November 15th, closing at Chicago Stadium. Tickets had massive demand in the States. The group intended to play Carouselambra on this tour. Despite his personal problems, Peter Grant hadn't lost his sense for business. If the shows went well and Plant was happy, there was time for the 1980s, Part 2. A box of t-shirts for the upcoming tour was delivered at Grant's mansion. 6 months later, they remained unopened. Robert Plant remembered Bonzo complaining bitterly as they drove to their final rehearsal on September 24th. Bonham said, quote, "I've had it with playing drums. Everybody plays better than me." He tore the car's sun visor and threw it out the window. Peter Grant said Bonzo would be worried on every tour that he would not play as good as the last time.
John Henry Bonham. Take a bow, John, take a bow. Take a bow, John, take a bow.
After a day of heavy drinking, the rehearsal at Bray Studios was abandoned. Bonzo and Rex King went back to Jimmy's Windsor house in Clewer for the evening. Bonham fell asleep on the sofa around midnight.
John Bonham, found dead in bed yesterday in London at the home of the group's guitarist, Jimmy Page.
John Bonham, drummer with the British rock group Led Zeppelin since its inception in 1968, was found dead today at the home of a friend in Windsor, England.
Bonham's funeral was held on October 10th at St. Michael's Church in the Worcestershire village of Rushock.
The service was at the tiny 13th century parish church at Cutnall Green near Kidderminster, less than a mile from the Star's luxury farm home. but it was a million miles from the industry that made and perhaps destroyed him. Apart from the other members of the band, Jimmy Page, Robert Plant and John Paul Jones, it was just family and friends who packed the church for the quarter-hour service. There were, though, the tributes from John's contemporaries, this giant wreath from Paul McCartney and Wings. Another inside the church was from his parents. It read, "Superstar, but to us, just son." As the cortege moved off for Worcester Crematorium, the other members of Led Zeppelin left by a back door. It was, after all, a time for John's relatives, not for them. It wasn't John Bonham, superstar, they said goodbye to here today. It was John Bonham, family man who sought and enjoyed the peace of the country. His family was offered the service and music of its choice. It chose not rock music, but traditional Crimmon. And it wasn't John Bonham, superstar, that the vicar, the Reverend Norman Atty, spoke of, but John Bonham, local farmer who did much to restore local buildings. The rock world, of course, was here, but this time, as perhaps John would have wanted it, it was quietly in the background.
Confusion reigned at Swan Song offices in London. Hundreds of letters were sent, mostly from America. They remained unopened for years. One by one, the label staff began to quit, with many overwhelmed by the tragic news. Surviving members reunited in early November. They discussed their future, with Robert Plant already sure about his decision. He would say years later, the band didn't exist the moment Bonzo was gone. There was no Let anything. It was later revealed John Bonham drank the equivalent of 40 single shots of vodka. When his unconscious body started rejecting that much alcohol, he suffocated. His death was ruled accidental suicide.
And we were rehearsing for an American tour when John died, and then it just all stopped, you know. But it was terrible.
And of course, with Mooney's death, the Who replaced as best they could with Kenny Jones on drums. And of course, even when Brian Jones passed away, well, even a month before then, the Rolling Stones had replaced Brian. Why did you find it not the thing to do, shall we say, to try to find a replacement for Bonzo?
Well, there's one thing, there are many things, but there's one thing far more important than keeping a group going, and that is how you feel about people, you know? And I mean, for all the sort of rows and whatever we'd gone through, we were the ultimate unit. On stage was one thing, but off stage and how we felt, how we were, there was no room for replacements. There was no room to have anybody, you know, that was secondary. The idea of continuing by sticking somebody else back there on the rostrum was just bad taste.
Tell me this too, this is the last thing I'll say on that particular question.
It's not that dramatic, it's just like a kind of tribute to John. Like, I mean, we would have never been half as good. If you listen to those records, I mean, it was like dynamite. And, I mean, he used to give me some stick. But nevertheless, I mean, that's it, you know.
You can see what a fine drummer he is.
And what anybody else would have, however good they'd have been, even if they'd have been better in one aspect than John, which I would have, it would be very hard to find anybody anywhere. But I mean, even so, I mean, he had it overall. He had so much taste and so much feel. That's it. There's nothing more I can say.
When one dies like that prematurely, it leaves all sorts of funny emotions, I think, with people. Even sometimes bitterness, not so much bitterness because you missed the person, but also bitterness because you missed that person's creativity in this kind of situation. Was that a bit of a problem for you in any way?
No. I just lost my mate.
¿Qué está haciendo ABBA?
Actualmente estamos haciendo lo que hacemos de costumbre cuando un nuevo LP es completo.
Well, the time has come. You've seen the map. We've looked at the figures, and NBC News now makes its projection for the presidency. Reagan is our projected winner. Ronald Reagan now has the required 270 electoral votes. Carter with 15 at this stage of the evening.
Led Zeppelin's official statement was released on December 4th. We wish it to be known that the loss of our dear friend and the deep respect we have for his family, together with the sense of undivided harmony felt by ourselves and our manager, have led us to decide that we cannot continue as we were. This moment would be overshadowed by another rockstar death on December 8th, 1980.
Everyone, I'm Tom Brokaw. This is today, December 9th. I'm here with Jane Pauley, and this entire half hour will be devoted to the murder of John Lennon, ex-Beatle, one of the best-known musicians and most influential people of his time. As you heard Dr. Stephen Lynn at Roosevelt Hospital in New York City say, Lennon was shot and killed at about 11 o'clock last night outside his apartment building. News of the Lennon shooting, of course, spread quickly around the world. NBC News correspondent Stephen Frazier tells what happened last night on Manhattan's West Side.
Witnesses told police Lennon was shot near the door to his apartment building as he and Yoko Ono returned from a recording studio.